there. So we are at 6:02 and we're going to call this meeting to order. It is Monday, January 8th, 2024. We will start with 1.1, which is roll call.
Kirsten White, Bonnie Freeman,
Dan Murphy. Mark Carlton.
Katie Mistel. 1.2 is our pledge of allegiance. Will everyone please stand for that? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. 1.3 is agenda review and approval. Dr. Long, do we have any changes to the agenda tonight?
No, we have some personnel actions, but I think it's already on there, so I just give you names when we get to that point.
For the
For
basketball?
the coaching.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as it is presented?
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Dan. All in favor? 2.0, consent agenda, correction, 2.1, correction, approval of the regular meeting minutes for December 11th, 2023. I wasn't there, but I watched the meeting. Does anyone have any corrections to the meeting minutes?
I did it in record time.
Yes, you did. I saw that. Faster than
I have no corrections.
No. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make the motions.
Thank you, Mark.
Second.
Thank you, Kirsten. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 3.0 is communication report. 3.1 is our audit presentation. Tell me if I'm saying this right. Nooner, Davidson and Company.
And as you know, every year, we go through a process where auditors come in and look at the books for the previous fiscal year. This is the audit presentation on the audit that was completed for the fiscal year 2023 budget, which is the one that concluded June 30th. And I'm going to turn it over to Angie. And Angie, if you could introduce your partner in explanation here, okay?
Sounds good. For some reason, my camera's not working. I mean, I can't see myself. So, hi.
Yeah, looks like the power's out in Roseburg.
We can hear you though.
Yep.
Well, that is all that counts. So I will work on the camera still. But we have Kelsey here, and she is one of the partners with Nooner and Davidson, and she is going to present the audit that I already know went superb. So I'm going to let Kelsey just go ahead and take it away.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm Kelsey Pardon. I work at Nooner Davidson, and I was the lead partner on the audit this year. So I will just get started on our report. Sorry, my dog. Being a little nuisance. Just 1 second.
You're fine. Angie, we can see you now.
Oh, good. It's helpful if you actually move the button that actually opens your camera. Just saying.
Oh, like on top of your screen?
Yes.
Yep.
So.
Okay, sorry about that. I had some little difficulties with my dog at home. Okay, so basically page 1 is the independent auditors report. It gives us a summary of what basically we did during the audit. And our opinion was unmodified. Unmodified is the best opinion we can give. It means that in all material aspects, we found that the audit conclusion was that the reports were accurate, free from material misstatement. So that just kind of goes into detail on how we presented the financial statements as well. We presented them on a cash basis. So there are no asset accruals or liabilities in your report. It's mostly just based on when you received your revenue and when you expense that for the year. So if you go on to the management discussion and analysis, that's pages 3 through 7, I believe. That will just detail the financial highlights of the report based on what management can conclude. So it's just kind of like a big summary of all the financial statements for the year. I'm not going to go into detail on that because that's something you can read over really quick in your free time. So page 8 is the statement of net position. That's your total assets and your total net position for the year. The total assets were $1,474,096. Cash in your checking was $1,158,271, and in your state pool was $315,824. So if you go to page 9, it shows the breakdown of all of your statement of activities. So the first column is your disbursement, so what you spent for the year. So government-wide, you spent $5,378,043. And then it shows all the types of revenue that covered those expenses in the next 2 columns. And then on the left or on the right column is the general fund revenues that covered it as well. So the total revenue with all of that added up is $5,076,992. So the change in net position or your loss for the year was $301,052. So most of that, I believe, is the timing of which the requests for the special revenue funds were requested. So they were expensed, but they should have been received by the end of the year, but they didn't get into the bank in time. And so that's mostly why there's that $300,000 loss. Page 10 is your balance sheet. So it shows the breakdown across the general fund, the special revenue, capital projects, and then their total government funds. We like to pay attention to the general fund. Special revenue funds are for specific things, and then the capital projects fund as well. So your total assets in cash and due to from other funds is $740,649 for the general fund. The next page is the statement of receipts, disbursements, and changes in fund balance. That's the cash in and out for the year. So I always pay attention to the general fund. We had total expenses of 3.2 million, and receipts of 3.6 million. And then we had a transfer out of 672,000. The ending fund balance was 740,649. That's 22% of, your total expenses for the year. So that means that without any type of revenue coming in, you guys could operate for 3 months, which is good. We like it to be over 20%. That's like that means that you're spending the money correctly and that you have a balance in case something were to go bad. So you also budgeted for the next year. You had a fund balance of 900,000, which is pretty close. I mean, it's a little bit under what actually came to be. That's also probably like a timing issue for the request for some of the revenue as well. Special revenue fund, we have an ending fund balance of 518,000. You budgeted 638,000, so you're pretty consistent there as well. And then the capital projects fund, 188,298. Ending fund balance was 100,000 budgeted, so it's above what you had requested for the budget. So everything's pretty consistent. And I don't see any issues with your fund balance. It's sitting where it should be and it's pretty healthy. So then the next B pages, those are just your internal service service funds, which is your unemployment funds. I'm not going to go into that as well. And then you have your notes to your basic financial statements. This doesn't change from year to year. It just kind of shows you the breakdown of all the different aspects of the financial statements. So I'm not going to go through that as well. The next place I we'll go over is just the breakdown on Schedule C1 on page 30. It shows the breakdown of all of the revenue that you get for the general fund. And then shows what was budgeted for the year and your comparison. So you guys had budgeted 230,000 would be the ending fund balance for this fund, and you have 740,000. And then the next page is the breakdown of all the expenses. You can see across what the instruction and support services breakdown is per the each object code as well. And then the special revenue fund on page 33 shows the total special revenue funds and what was budgeted. The total receipts for the special revenue funds was 731,000. You guys had budgeted 1,169,492. I think that's also kind of the whole thing I was talking about with the requests not coming in at the end of the year. They were requested, but they had not gotten into the bank by the end of the year because you guys are cash basis. So then it shows the ending funding balance of 518,781. Then this is just another breakdown of the other funds to the budget. And then also the page 36 through 39, I believe, or 40 are just the breakdown of your expenses and your revenue per source code that we have to send to the state so that they can see that it matches up to what they got from you guys. And then the last thing is the federal financial assistance. This just shows all the federal revenues that came into the district. You guys had total federal assistance of $380,282. So basically, if it's over 750,000, we have to do a single audit, but we didn't have to do that this year. Most of the funding that's coming through is still that ESSER money. And yeah, it's been pretty consistent from prior years too. I know that there's still another year to spend those funds as well. And then page 42 is our auditor report for the Oregon State regulations. We just have to do a little bit more. We have to do attendance testing, and we have to check to make sure that you guys are in compliance with insurance. We check teacher records to make sure that the teacher's experience is being reported correctly to the state. We also make sure that the LGIP fund account is within the amounts that it's not going over a certain deposit amount. We check to see that the budget's been correctly reported and it's followed the guidelines that the state has required for timing as well. And all of that was in compliance this year. We had no issues with any of those. So that report's stating that. And then the last page is just supplemental information that we have to send that just shows energy bill for heating expenses for the state. So all in all, you guys had a good year. Yeah, and if you have any questions for me.
I have a couple. So the total, I guess the total revenue received, or I guess total dollars spent from all sources. Where's that number at?
So the total money spent for all sources, like for the governmental funds, is on page 9, that disbursements column in the left top. It's the $5,378,043. And that's
Okay.
for your statement of activities for your cash basis. So
Okay, so the money that came from the state is based on our enrollment. Where's that number at?
that number should be on, that is on page, it should be on the schedule C, the schedule C1, page 30. The state school funding that you received for your attendance basic school support is in, it's like the third section called state sources on the general fund.
And 893,359.
Yep.
Okay. So then going back to the page 9, the 5.3 million, that includes all of our grants and federal money, everything. Every dollar that came into the district is
Including our seismic,
right.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay. So in the past, I think that 5 million has been closer to 7 or 8 or 9, if I remember correctly. But
yeah, and I think that was from building improvements that you guys had done in the past.
Okay.
And the increase in funding for the previous years because of the ESSER funding that came in from COVID. Just
Mhm.
increased
Right.
disbursements as well. I think it's kind of slowing down now. So
okay,
that's
So we're-
probably why.
spending less, it sounds like.
Yeah,
than we had
yeah, the
year.
funding is also just not coming in as much now.
Okay. And then I had one other question, I don't remember what page it was on it. It had to do with the unemployment insurance. Skipped over it. It's like 11,000.
Oh,
Nothing
let me see, let me get to it.
Is the unemployment insurance or the
13.
unemployment payment?
Unemployment fund, page 13.
Yes.
So the receipts, where does the money come from?
I believe it's the charges that the other funds are funding for the unemployment to be spent in that account. So it's like like local sources revenue that's being charged across all the funds and then being transferred into this account to cover the unemployment expenses.
Then, my impression was a direct cost to us when we have to pay that out.
Yeah, yeah, so
That's-
basically, the general fund and all the other funds are funding for you to pay that cost. It's just being allocated to that fund to expense that.
So the receipts are just coming from another pocket.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that I think answers the only questions I had.
Any other
Anybody else?
questions?
More questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to say though, Kelsey, thank you so much for working on this. I'm familiar with like audits because I work for the town as well. And so just so everybody knows, like an audit is so important because she's coming in as an independent source who's looking over our books, making sure we are legit in the funding coming in, if we spent it correctly, if everything is adding up the way it's supposed to be, so that the school is being ran as it should be. So it's such an important job.
So
Thank
that
you.
unmodified, branding of this beach, basically, that they found everything, they didn't find anything that wasn't plumb and square, and how we use money, and that's important. We
Yes.
have, that gets used in a number of ways. We get a request every year from our unions for our audit, because they're looking to see if we're following things right, if we're trustworthy. When we apply for grants, many times we have to submit the last 3 years of audit, so they can see that piece is in place, because they're entrusting us with grant money. They want to make sure that we have we are spending it appropriately. So, so thank you, Kelsey, very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's an
thank you.
important job, and I'm really glad the school district looks so good.
Yes, it's been great to work with you guys.
Good.
Okay.
Do we need to like approve? Do we do that here? No, we go at the town where you approve the draft. audit?
No, it's just presented because it is what it is. It's because otherwise you could, if you could approve it, it presumes that you could refuse it. And that's the whole idea of having the outside entity,
I
so.
wonder why the town does it that way. Okay, gotcha. Thank you, ladies. Okay, 3.2 is School Board Recognition Month. Dr. Long.
Hey, we recognize you. No.
Everyone should have this.
We do have a little memento for you to take home and put on the refrigerator. And do want to thank you truly for, it is, as a superintendent, I always feel better when I know that all board positions are filled and there are people who are engaging and in support of the district. And there have been times where we haven't had a full board. So the School Boards Association reminds us that just as we have times where we recognize our support staff and our teachers, ultimately in Oregon, school boards are the governing entity for all that. And so for that purpose, insists that we talk about that piece because the public's also watching. And I think sometimes people just don't realize it takes a commitment from people who have their own lives to come in and try to get their heads around what's going on and help us review our policies and also give us feedback on how things are going. So to each of you, thank you.
I want to thank you all personally too, for taking time out of your busy lives and doing such a great job.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Long. 3.3 is our Butte Falls Charter School Natural Resource Center, Mr. DeCarlo.
That's where is this where I'm supposed to shine a light on you now?
Yeah, Bob Whiteby. Yeah. So on behalf of the RC, I also want to thank all the school board members. We appreciate all the support that we've been getting, and it's something that we look forward to continuing to work with you. So had 3 different points I want to bring to your attention tonight. So first thing, that as a representative of the Natural Resource Center, as well as the Butte Falls School District, I will be attending 2 different statewide conferences in the next few months. So first, on January 31st and February 1st, I will be attending the State of Oregon Outdoor School Gathering. And this is an opportunity for me to interact with other outdoor school sites from across the state, as well as some support from Oregon State University, who oversees all of the outdoor school funds. So just a quick aside, in the state of Oregon, with the Measure 99 dollars that have come in, the state has deferred all spending decisions to Oregon State's extension offices to be figuring out for outdoor schools. So they're the ones who are putting this on. And so the quote I put in there is from the flyer that I got on it. So they are planning a lively event with opportunities for networking, sharing best practices, building partnerships, and professional development. And all 4 of those things are things that we definitely, I think, have a strong start to, but I would like to see us continuing on with it. So this should be a good opportunity to continue, like say, progress as we have schools. That one of the things I'm really looking to see is how we can get schools signed up to be able to come up and use the outdoor resources that we have at the university. Additionally, I'll be attending the DIAC Ecology Education Workshop, and this allows me to participate in a free teacher training focused on field-based science inquiry. It's at the Oregon Institute of Marine Biology, so over in Charleston on the coast. And one of the nice things about this training, because it is all teachers that are there, it's over President's Day weekend, so I don't actually have to miss any class to be able to attend it.
Nice.
So it's coming up the middle of February, and in addition to some great experiences and learning opportunities, for going, I then am eligible to apply for a $4,000 grant. It may be more depending on how many participants are there. And that will be able to further what we're doing as far as field-based science inquiry lessons. So essentially what we've been doing out there anyway. And I was talking to the organizers for this conference. I had mentioned what we're doing with the frogs and the middle schoolers, and he said that's spot on what they're looking at. So any questions about either of those conferences?
Can I ask one real quick?
Sure.
So that sounds so exciting, Oregon Institute of Marine Biology. So what would the grant that you're applying for like kind of pay for? Did you cover that already?
So it could just be some sort of project that we're doing, like what the frogs are, something akin to that. And so right now I've been working with several of the teachers from the elementary school. And so you kind of see where they want to go with it. So the way I'm partnering with Ms. Ely, our 6th grade teacher for the frogs, I'd like to partner with one of the other elementary teachers on another project that they're what they see that they like, and ultimately what the kids would like. So
Awesome. That sounds so cool.
So
Thank you.
as soon as I know more about that, I will be certainly happy to share it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? on that part? Okay, so the second item there, we had school last Friday, so myself as the science teacher and then Ms. Noon Toledo, our language arts teacher, worked together and had students join us in the culinary lab down at the NRC for French Friday. And hopefully I don't have any of the students watching, but essentially French Friday is kind of a gimmick to get them to show up to Friday school a little bit. But then they also, what's fun about it is they don't actually realize they're learning. And so I tie it to the science lessons we're doing in geology. We tied it to the study of Earth that we're doing right now, that in chemistry, we tied it to chemical reactions. In biology, we're able to tie it to the 4 basic biomolecules. And so then they ultimately get to, once they learn some French, get to be able to make some French food for breakfast. I had some generous support that supported me in being able to support the students with that. So some of the things they got to make, if they were able to figure out the recipes, which were in French, were croissants, grapes, bacon, fruit, and ham, and also orange juice. So I love the picture there on the right that you see on the report. That's 2 of our juniors, and Logan, the boy there, has decided his new life calling is to flip pancakes for the rest of his life. So but he was definitely getting into it. I wish I could have shown you the video, but video wouldn't have printed out right. And there on the left is a couple of plates that some of the 8th graders and sophomores working together were able to make. So some bacon on there, some more like pancakes, a little less like crepes, but it all tasted pretty good. So I got to taste test a lot of it. So
So when it comes to
You're
French
brave.
Friday, they all really eat it up.
they do. No, it's a lot of fun. And like I say, it's something that just to kind of get students interested in showing up on Friday, we actually, as I'm sure Dr. Long will be talking about, had pretty good attendance last Friday for Friday school, which has not always been the case. So that was good. So any questions on that? We're gonna move on to curriculum.
That's awesome.
Okay, and then the last piece I just wanted to make you aware of right now. So this school year, all kindergarten through 12th grade school districts across Oregon are in the process of adopting new science curriculum. So I am leading the charge for the district here as the high school science teacher. I was able to attend the science curriculum caravan in Medford at the beginning of December and was able to see almost all of the options that are approved options from the state and got to sit in on several workshops with different curriculums. And from that, I was able to do some follow-up research on several of the major options, and now I've been able to narrow it down to 2 basic options. I pretty well decided for secondary, so 6 through 12, what we'll be using. It's the same curriculum we've been using. And then I'm working with some of the elementary teachers to test drive a curriculum that fits in with that. And so as I say, I've been co-teaching lessons with elementary teachers. I've done that with 1 teacher, and I will be with the rest of them over the next month or so. And because we were provided a sample account where we can actually see all of the different curriculum with the particular program that we're test driving right now. And so I'm test driving lessons, co-teaching with them. And from there, one of the nice things I was able to get from the curriculum caravan was this kind of checklist of things to be looking for curriculum. And then I also have some of my own in terms of what I'd like to see in terms of connections with the Natural Resource Center, some of the connections with the curriculum that I've already written for down there. And so then we can get that all together, and then sometime probably in March, I hope to have a recommendation from the teachers as far as what we would like to see for science curriculum. And as I say, that one of the biggest things I'm looking for is integration with what we're already doing at the NRC, and also one that's reasonably priced. And one of the things that's really nice about the curriculum we're using currently at the high school, and that I'm suggesting we use grade school, is it is all per student, and it's all an online curriculum that we can print components if we want, or we can keep them online, which keeps our prices way down. So we're looking at right now less than $10 per student for a year of science curriculum, which is way cheaper than any of the ones that have traditional textbooks and workbooks and the whole life. So like I say, that's kind of where we're leaning towards, but I definitely want to do due diligence to be making sure it's a curriculum that will work for teachers and that can work within our system. So any questions on that?
One comment, you're certainly diversified.
I try to be. Once upon a time, I was a social studies teacher too, so.
Yeah, but that's it.
Yeah.
I know we gotta go up there on Friday.
Yep.
I super appreciate you doing that. And then again, as like a school board member, like when you guys are really close to making your decision, we should have an opportunity to
Yeah.
really take a close look at the curriculum you're looking at, even if it's the same we've used previously.
And we'll do what we've done with our other ones. We'll have samples here that will also in the newsletter, let parents know they can come in and look at it and
Okay.
ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you have any questions, you all know how to get hold of me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are at 3.4 superintendent report, Dr. Long.
So I have a couple different things several different things to refer to. You have a copy in your packet toward the back of the newsletter. And on the back of the newsletter, there was an article about our accreditation review. We're in the process of a self-study right now, in order to have our accreditation renewed. And when we started originally, it was with, Northwest Accrediting Association, and then it became Advanced Ed, and like everything else, then it was absorbed by something called Cognia. And Cognia is an accrediting association for about 70,000 schools. And accreditation is important, particularly at the high school level, because what it means is if a kid takes a course at your school and they transfer to another school, that school will automatically accept the credit. You may have had an experience, or sometimes schools, and we tend to see these in trade schools where they're not accredited and they say, we'll teach you how to do this, and we'll give you a certificate. But it isn't actually a transferable. If you went partway through that program and then you decide to go to another school, you have to start all over. So this is an important process, and it's a challenging one in this season to go through. We're trying to use mostly the artifacts of things we've already done rather than to create a whole new process. But on February 1st, I'm supposed to upload all these documents. And then the following week, it'll be a virtual audit, sort of, by the team. There's one person on the team and who will follow up. This used to entail schools sending 3 or 4 people from different schools, sending a person, but making a team that would go visit a school. And I visited the Triangle Lake School, which is a district about the size of ours outside of Eugene 5 years ago, because I was anticipating that's when we were supposed to go through this. And then, of course, it got delayed because they changed their process, and then the pandemic hit. And so it's been 10 or 11 years since we've gone through this process. So I just wanted to let you know that is the intense thing that's happening over the next month and a half. And then what will come out of that is I'm confident we'll have some commendations. We'll also have some recommendations. But the most important thing we're working towards is having that renewal of that accreditation, or knowing what we need to do to make sure we maintain it. So that's why I put this article in there. I just wanted to get it out there.
Can you give me those dates again?
It'll
Is it in
be,
here?
no, it's not in there. It's
February?
February 1st is when I have to upload all the digital documents for them to look
Right.
at. And I mean, they're looking at everything. They're looking at our board calls. They're going to our website to see what kind of communication we have. They're looking at our process for evaluating teachers. They're looking just to make sure that we have all the things that would make us a credible school.
We want.
Which we want. Now, the interesting thing is accreditation usually is for high schools. It is possible to have accreditation for a middle school or elementary school. Most districts don't pursue that. But because we're a K-12 school, when we are done, we will be an accredited K-12 school. So that brings a little more distinction to our lower grades too. Because I don't know that, I know Medford used to have some elementary schools that were accredited because their principals want to go through all that, but just wanted you to be aware of that.
I got it.
Okay, and then the second thing I wanted to show you in your packet is we need to take a look at the enrollment report. Because we've been watching this spin down a little bit, and we are down 1 student from November, but we anticipated that because part of the process we go through with our students and families, particularly if they come to us from outside our district, there sometimes is a point where we are not the school that can provide all the services that they need. And so what we try to do is to help them get to a point where they can have some options for where they go next. And so we transitioned a student and great student, great kid, but really for the type of school we were, we were not gonna be able to help that student as they continued on and graduated with the types of supports that they were going to need. So, we sometimes we'll see a bump in our enrollment in January, February as people move around, but we haven't seen as much.
We are getting 3 new students this week at the elementary.
Good.
Kinder, first and fifth, I believe.
Awesome.
This is a time, and then I noticed this happened this year more than last year. We had several families that kind of disappeared the week before Christmas and didn't come back the week after, and now they're back, and it's because they made decisions about family stuff and all of that, and but if you have your child out of our system for more than 10 consecutive days, by law, we have to drop you, and then we have to re-enroll. So that February number, or January into January number is gonna be an important number for us to look at.
Okay.
To see if we finally get where we're gonna get. Other things that I wanted to share with you, in this newsletter, there was an article on the 3rd page. And it was about gifts from Bedford Fabrication. And the rest of the story, they actually gave us 2 welding tables and 2 welding materials baskets valued at about $5,000 is really what it costs for all of them. And they shipped it, they brought it, they didn't pay any shipping, they just showed up and said, we're here. And then the teacher, Sean Childers, and his kids, they've landed on blue as the color for that shop because they're trying to distinguish different areas in the building. And so they went to town, graffitiing it blue, so it looked good. And I just really appreciate that, because that was not something that was on our radar until about a month and a half ago when they learned about our welding class, 2nd quarter. And really appreciate, I think Bedford Fab over the years has provided us with metal and things like that for our kids to work with. And so we need to highlight partners like that when they come up. Yeah, it's really awesome. 3rd thing that happened, and it happened in November, December, and I mentioned it, I think, is that we had some, we had a grant because we were required to do an update to our asbestos management plan and a review of what we've done. And that actually hadn't occurred for 5, 6, 7 years. In fact, I don't know that it had occurred since I was here, just all the stuff, because when it needed to happen, we didn't have the personnel to do it. So we got a grant last year for up to $20,000. And we're able to contract to have a firm come in and do all that. And now we're all compliant. They didn't find anything scary. They just updated, reviewed, made sure everything was like it needed to be. And I would share with newer board members, our practice has been whenever we had renovations or seismic work and there was an opportunity to remove asbestos flooring, we got rid of it. So we have removed at the elementary, even before the seismic upgrade, we removed the asbestos flooring in 4 classrooms, and those are the ones that have that kind of vinyl look type material on them. This last summer, we removed all the asbestos tile in what is the English language arts room at the high school now, and we put carpet squares down. And that is one of the carcinogenic things that was, when I was a kid, they wrapped the heating systems and, it's just friable asbestos. It's not really good for us. So that piece was done. The total cost for that was under $5,000. So we didn't spend the whole 20,000, but it's okay. It gave us the ability to access funds. We had to pay for it, and then they actually are going to reimburse us for that amount. So we paid the contractor. And there was another grant we had for long-range facility planning. But as you know, until this year, we didn't really have a consistent facilities manager. And so basically I returned that money to the state. I said, we want to turn this back, but we're going to apply again. So we will apply in February. We will probably get the funding. We should, because they want us to do the long-range planning. And that means our facilities manager, who is going to be here for many years, can be involved in that whole process. And that is the planning that isn't about building out your district alone. It's really about making sure you have a 20 and 25-year schedule of repairs, maintenance. You do your roof replacements every 20 to 25, and you have it scheduled out, and you do it in such a way that the hit on your budget is not all at once, that you actually plan and then you set money aside for those capital repairs and things. And that is the thing that really hurts districts more than anything, when you say, well, you know what, the paint job's pretty good, we'll just let that go for a few years, and then all of a sudden all these things pile up and you don't have a way to take care of them. So we will be applying for that again. The other grant that we are applying for, because I haven't given up yet, is another, seismic rehabilitation grant. for the shop at the high school. That is a building because when we applied for that grant, it was right when I first came, you already had the paperwork going, and then we kind of went with it. The grant size of the grant was $1.5 million. And that covered the cost of everything that happened on the high school campus, but it really couldn't touch everything. So we had to prioritize things, and because there was not as much use in that tech arts building, they said, if we take that out, then we can do these things.
This where welding and stuff is.
Yes, yes, and there are some concerns with that building. If you go in, there's this beautiful woodwork, you know, how they have all the trusses put together and nailed together, okay? And that's not really as seismically where it needs to be. So, and then it's a cinder block building, but over the years, the cinder block on the inside wasn't treated very well, so and there was a place I think I was able to piece together that maybe the windows in the lower part were getting broken, so someone came up with a plan to cut cinder block in half and mortar it on either side of the glass windows. And so the windows disappeared, except in an earthquake, that will just crumble out. So I'm hoping, by our persistence, that we can get the grant to do this. And I'm hoping that it should be of enough substance that we can get that building really put back together like it needs to be. So those are some grant things that we're pursuing. I wanted to let you know some other facilities things that are kind of significant that have been occurring too. We do have a list of stuff that needs to happen. But I invited PACE special districts to come down. There are risk management, insurance, risk pool managers. And they provide a service to their clients where they'll come and they'll look over your facilities and they'll point out things that have potential liability and give you recommendations. And so those are things, for example, you'll see some places where you're walking and there's like a stair or something and the stair painted yellow. It's because that's a warning. And we have, at the high school, we have some stairs that come out of the staff room out in the back way between the two buildings. And we couldn't build them today, they're too high. So if you're used to going into standard, 6-inch stair buildings and suddenly you come to one that's 7.5 or 8, people trip and fall. We actually had an employee fall there a year and a half ago. And I painted it all yellow again because it wasn't painted very good. But pointing out things like that, pointing out scheduled things on our playground equipment that needs attention. One of the little metal ladder things that chain things is they're wearing out up here. We need to either replace them or shorten it and tighten them up. Just that type of stuff. They gave us a list. There probably were 16 things and we've been knocking them off, but we've been tackling some of the really high risk ones. And one of them was that area between the shop and the building, the main building, which if you guys probably know, when you would go there's like these curb things and it goes up and down and all that. And we had identified that we had a break in a return pipe in the boiler system, taking water back into or steam condensation back into the boilers. And for years, there's been this magical gurgling of warm water there. And Sean finally started digging into it. And at that point, we realized because of this recommendation, we just removed all the uneven asphalt in there and the curbs and everything and put, 3/4 gravel in there and compacted it. And it has eliminated all those tripping hazards. Now, we will do work this summer to repair that pipe, probably have to replace it all the way around back to but we could do that when kids aren't here and dig up things there. That was a substantial amount of time by him, but it also allowed us to do one other thing, because if you went in there, you knew that you could pull in between the buildings, and then there was a gate. And the problem is that the gate was here, but outside of there was an exit from the English room, which meant that was a vulnerable safety issue for us. So after we scraped that out, Sean then came back and he moved that fence system back to the edge of the shop and the English room. So now that porch comes out and it's behind the fencing there, which always should have been. And but that took a lot of work and some other, when you start digging, you find stuff. The other things that we did, we had a traumatic thing happen for one of our young students. She came for a basketball game. She went into the bathroom.
Oh, no.
Suddenly the lock wouldn't work.
Oh, no.
And of course, at that point, trapped inside it. And at that point, no one even knew where there was a secret key thing that could open it, because we haven't had that problem for years, right? So who knows where that is? So Mr. DiCarlo put on his Superman cape, and he basically was able to dislodge the door. It kind of destroyed the knob and everything, but it got her out. And so, Mr. Childers then had to find a way to find a door that fit that old setup and all that. And in the process of that, well, I'll just tell you as an aside, I had an old door in my barn that he rebuilt. But he changed the swing on it so that actually it opens up against the wall, because it used to open up so that you had to open it and walk around and then, just not appropriate. And then he is getting the lighting upgraded so that it's when you move, it comes on. And as opposed to having to reach the switch, which will now be behind the door. So that piece is getting cleaned up. But like your and my house, once you start renovating things, you see other things. And on our list was the entryway into the gym where visitors come, where that ramp is, where there was old carpeting that had hydraulic liquid on it for about 4 years ago. It's still. And so over the break, we pulled all the carpeting back so that we could put new tile down, new carpeting there. That would work better. And of course, in the process, we found that the corner flooring was dry rotted out. And where the volleyball stanchions went into their stand, there was a reason why it bounced. It's because it was just the floorboards and nothing under them. And so rather than saying, okay, well, we'll just put carpet over it, he climbed under the building and assessed, and we decided that we poured a concrete slab, so it is a permanent landing. And the stanchions can hang up there, and he's gonna build a metal thing for them to land in, so they don't just chip away at the carpeting. But we're doing it right, is what he did. And it turned out to be a little more than we thought, which is why there isn't carpeting there yet. But that is one of the upgrades we're doing, and then we'll paint up that area and clean it out. The other piece that was in your newsletter, which, for some people might not seem very important, but I think you all probably recognize that there have been no drinking fountains in our gym for a very long time. And we figured out that there was a custodial room that had a water heater, which meant it had cold water coming in there. And we could get to power. So we got a really screaming deal on this drinking fountain from Lowe's, actually. They had it. Shipped it. I picked it up down there. And then he got the electrician and the plumber, and this is up and functioning. We have to do a reset on some codes because it says there's something wrong with it, but it's just we have to get the right code set. And it's a bottle filler so that when people come to our games and when away teams come and their bottle's empty, we're not giving them bottled water and having all this stuff to recycle or throw away or whatever. And also people aren't coming into the concession stand and going past the people selling concessions to get water out of the sink. So it's gonna help on a number of levels, and that it's accessible when that door is open, then the fountain's always open. So that, and I don't know why I could have been here 7 years and not really thought about, there's no drinking fountain in this place, but
Coaching,
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. It was our last home game and the other coach had asked me, she's like, can he fill his water? And I was like, so we let him in
Right,
to
yeah.
the concession stand, but I was like, we actually are in the process of putting in a drinking fountain right now, so.
So that was another big win that's going on. And so the reason why I'm telling you that is, and Angie is paying attention to this because she's concerned about some of our expenditures and maintenance. There have been some things that haven't been taken care of that need to. And so when it's safety, when it's related to pace and liability, but also just humanity, getting water to people, whatever. We're gonna try to make those investments. Angie doesn't know about this one, but yesterday I did buy a snow blower. It's coming in 2 weeks because what I realized was,
Me shoveling, or you.
you know what? Here's the deal. You buy the piece of equipment, you train the key people to run it, and then you don't have injuries. You don't have your we both shoveled snow this morning.
I go out yesterday morning, he's already out there shoveling.
Of course he is.
Well, but the reality is, and that's because Sean couldn't be here, but, and all that, but even so, there are some things that if I buy a piece of equipment that does it right
Mhm.
and people don't get injured.
Yeah.
And we can count on it, then it makes it safer for
Yeah.
everyone. So Angie, I'm sorry, that is what happened. It's coming. And I wish it had been here today, but it wasn't, so. Yeah.
It'll probably come Wednesday.
Yeah, see what else I had on the list here.
Please hug and thank Sean.
I was just thinking
because
that.
Oh,
he's-
yeah.
He's well worth what we're spending.
Well, and
on
he's-
him because he's worked his butt off.
And he's teaching this welding
He
class.
is
I mean,
doing
he's
well then. He's-
teaching kids about
Thank
three-dimensional
goodness he
printing and all kinds of cool.
He's happy with his job, I know.
Well, he was happy, but I don't know. I gotta find out if he really was not feeling well today or,
Thank you, Mr.
He
Childers.
didn't want to shovel snow. That's the real reason he didn't.
yeah, no, he is a get it done kind of guy.
He's really good.
The last thing I wanted to share with you is that we did also complete our lead and water testing. And we tested every single spigot and thing that anyone would want to drink water out of. And down at the NRC, we tested spigots that we hadn't before because we brought things online. It's every 6 years, you're supposed to do everything. We found only one sink where there was an issue. And the limit is I think it's 15 parts per billion. And it tested at 16 parts per billion. And it's a sink that hasn't been used for almost a year. Sink and drink. I capped them. What we're gonna do is we're gonna use it a little more, not to drink, but to get stuff going, and then we're gonna let them set, and we're gonna go through the process of test them again. Because what I think is going on is, I think all of our fixtures, they're of a era that there would be a little bit of lead in them, but when they're used regularly, it's not an amount that's gonna accumulate and anyone it meets the standard. But when they sit like that, I think that may be the case. If we test again and it's above the limit, we will replace the fixtures. But I think it's, I know it isn't the city pipes because the water system was replaced about 15 years ago or 20 years ago when that, I think, yeah. But it's probably something in that same, but that is, to only have one sink where there's an issue and in an area where we know we haven't been using it for a while, is really good because it gets expensive to take care of that. And we had tested before, but it'd been a while, the pandemic, our patterns of use changed and all of that. So that's just been some of the fun that we've been up to since our last meeting. And I didn't say anything about anything else in the newsletter, so you can talk about that. When we get to yours.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Long. And then, so yeah, next we will go to the charter school update, which is Dr. Long, Ms. Gray.
And I defer to her.
Okay, so obviously our winter program went really well. It was standing room only. It was adorable. I hope most of you guys could attend. They worked really hard. These did really well. They do a really good job of doing different things for each grade and making it really cute and adorable. The one thing I think we needed to work on was our mic situation because 7th grade did a little play part and it's hard to hear them. So I think in the future, if we're gonna do more stuff like that, which I would love to do, let's just make sure we have our mic kind of stuff.
We need to make some investments and some things for that. So,
Yeah.
first
But
part of that.
other than that, I think it went great. The kids did really well. I think this is our #1 attendance thing that we do. And we had good weather and it did really well. So I'm excited about that one. We had the Lions come and do vision screening, which basically just takes a snapshot and then they send us a report and it'll say whether students have an issue that they need to go to the eye doctor about, and then we send the report to the families and say, hey, you might want to take it to the doctor. So they do that for free, and that was great. They come every year. That was really good. And so, like I said, we are going to have 3 new kids starting this week with us, so that's exciting. Last week, one of the kids came and visited, and I showed him his dad around. They look like they're going to be fitting perfect with us.
So it's not a family, it's like separate.
It's, as far as I know, it's a dad's son. He's working down on ranch down on Rigby Riley. The big ranch down there. They're running a ranch, helping run it. Same with really nice people. The kid was amazing. Seemed like I didn't meet the other 2 yet. There's a kinder and first grade, I think, too, but I'm starting with them yet. So 6th grade last week got to go to Crater Lake and snowshoe, which we got a break in the weather. So that one day was perfect and sunny. Thank goodness, 'cause I was really worried. Mrs. Ely went up there and scouted a little area to do walk. They did science stuff where they talked about animal footprints and how to look at them in the snow, why the trees bend and do all the stuff up there and how they survive. And then they got to do a little bit of sledding, so they had a good time. We had a bunch of volunteer parents go, which was great. We're getting a lot more volunteers on a regular basis. They're coming into Julie and we're getting So a lot of people are signing up to be volunteers, which is really, really good. We had a fun snow day today. I reluctantly let them have a snowball fighting area. They really like to do that. And then we made a little lane so they could pull each other on the sleds. And they could make snowmans and things, so they were in love with that today. So no major casualties, just, you know, silly little things. Well, you're in the snowball zone, I'm sorry. Yeah, like nothing major. We had a good time. We are getting more subs this year, which is great because last year we didn't have any subs. That was really stressful. So for the most part, when we do have teachers out because they need doctors or whatever they're going to, we've had subs, which is really, really good. No issues with the subs, so that's really great. We're still doing art and music. So on a weekly basis, the kids get art, and then on a weekly basis, they're getting music. So I'm just trying to add stuff, and our sixth grade teachers doing music, and Robin, our EA, is doing art. So everybody's getting that, which is awesome. What else did I say here?
I might interject.
Yep.
Robin Marino is an aide for us. but
Yes.
She qualified under state regulations to be a registered teacher for PE.
So
and
she's
we have
got that.
Yeah. so
Yes,
she's
she
got-
does PE and art for us.
That's one of the benefits of being a charter school is that we can access that to
Yep.
get people certified to teach certain.
Yeah, she's doing a really good job. We've got curriculum for her, and she's doing awesome. Over the break, I met with Rogue Community Health. Because we're working on partnering with Rogue and all of that to see how they could support our families. So they have, can't remember what they call them, community supporter, there's a name, but I can't remember. So I was trying to see, you know, so for when families need resources and that kind of stuff, so they have designated people that we can work with that are assigned to, I mean, anything under the sun, any kind of resource. They can either find it for them or they can sit down and help them do it, anything like that. So I'm trying to work with them so we can get more, not just stuff for kids, but for families in general with their needs. I gave them information for the landing. So when the landing has their, whatever that is on
Resource Friday.
Resource Friday, they're going to come up and be there for that.
Nice.
And then next time we have any parent things, they're gonna come and be available to give out information to talk to that. So that'll be nice. We're working on ramping up a bunch of professional development for teachers for English and for special education, so that we can make sure that both teachers and educational assistants are getting up-to-date training on reading and interventions of helping kids to get up to grade level and all that stuff. I've got people at the ESD who are helping and doing professional development and trainings, and we're doing a bunch of stuff at the elementary school with that. And then I have some other people from the ESD, our psychologists, and a bunch of other specialists, our OT, all our specialists that come from ESD, because we don't have our own. So PT, OT, psychologists, all those people. So I'm working with them, and they're going to do some trainings because we have a high STEM population. And so I want to make sure that all our staff has the right information. So we're doing that kind of training and language arts training in the next couple months to get everybody where they need to be. So that's great. I think that's all I have, but I can be good.
We also had a contractor come and walk through today because we're getting bids to upgrade our fire alarm system at the elementary school. And I walked through with them to find all of them and figure out with the new system where we're now required to have, you know, things. We need some strobe lights when we have a fire drill in places that are dark. But they were admiring the fire alarm poles we had, and they were older than the two guys who replace one.
Probably.
I wasn't born for another 3 years after this was installed, so that's a good thing. Let's get that upgraded, and I've been working with Angie. That's gonna cost us something, but we need to do it.
For Angie.
Yeah.
I know.
Can I add something to the school update?
Yeah.
So Liz brought home, this Butte Falls Logger, like, I don't know, what are you guys calling this, like? News article that the 7th graders that made this?
Yeah, their newspaper.
Yeah, like a little
7th graders.
newspaper. Okay, this is adorable. I could immediately tell that the articles were like written by students. And I had so much fun reading this. Super cute.
We're trying to do electives for the 6th and 7th graders.
Yeah.
Because they don't get it, the 8th graders do, because at the high school, the 6th graders don't get all that other stuff, so we're just trying to come up with stuff on a regular basis for them to do. Elective type stuff, yeah.
I would love to see a lot more of these. This was so cute.
Does that go out to all students?
It
Do you
was,
want it?
No, I'm just.
it was in the office, so I don't
Gotcha.
know if she did or not.
Liz brought it home in her backpack
So
and I
then
had
she
so much
did,
fun
she made
reading
it
it.
15 copies. I know it was in the
Yeah.
office. I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yay, I read the one last month, it was pretty cute. Yeah, well written too, I mean, their word construction and everything for 7th grade level, it was fun.
It's pretty impressive.
Mhm.
Okay, so, oh, we were talking about a lot of bills and stuff. So we're at 3.6,
Mhm.
review payment of bills.
Ready for any questions?
I have two.
Okay,
One of them was on page 1, near the bottom for 3705 Hunt Ranch.
That was mine too.
that was rock hauling at the high school.
That was for the work you were talking about. Okay, I figured that was. And then the other one was page 2 for $3,000 RVBOA. I think if I'm on the right line.
Middle school basketball officials.
Oh, okay.
That's like the
refs.
refs. Okay, that's the word I was.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's an estimate based on last year. So we pay up front and then any adjustments after the fact, we either get credited or we owe additional after the fact.
And that's how the game gets canceled or not, they.
Right.
Was all I had.
Okay.
Got him.
I had the same question as Mark. I had the Hunt Ranch. I was curious about it. I'd never heard of it.
That was it?
That's the only one.
Okay, thank you guys. Any other questions? So we can go on to 3.7 financial summary, Ms. Bronson.
Well, as you can tell, I'm just spending time taking in all of the requests for money.
Yeah, you can do that. Here's a smile on your face.
too.
Take a card, babe.
We've had Dr. Long, Karina, and I, and Julie, we've had quite a few conversations, I would say, in the last month or so, just reviewing what grants we have, reviewing general fund dollars, just taking into account honestly where all of the money is and where it's coming from. So the next week or so, now that our audit is finished and we actually have some grant agreements that have come in, so we actually know what dollars we're getting, I will be doing a deep dive into our financial position and where we're at, and where we need to spend money and where we need to not spend money. So we'll be having continued conversations about all of that. But for right now, we are in a good spot, and we're just working together. I am always of the mindset I don't like to say no to things. So no is always my last resort. So know that. I would prefer to find the money somewhere for the things that you guys need. So I do get a lot of requests and I say yes to most of them, but no. So that's about it. And if you guys have any questions after you look at the audit or anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I know that audit packet, even to me, sometimes can be a little bit daunting as to what those numbers mean. So I am here to answer any questions anytime.
Thank you for looking out for the finances.
Yes.
Any other questions, you guys? No? Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are at 3.8 site council parent involvement. Julie Freeman.
Uh-oh, I'm here. Site council. Yeah, I have to get to that sometime soon, Miss Katie. I'm gonna need your help on that. In the meantime, we kind of went into a new groove, and I actually like seeing this happen with all the volunteers coming on board and people doing things again. So I think the focus there has been more important than looking at all the paperwork that we do in the site council, but we will get to that point sometime. I don't know when. Anyways, nothing to report on ESSA, where everything's cruising along, as Angie was saying. But I did have a transportation audit on site. We have not had one in 13 years. Haven't got the official paperwork, but I think we did okay.
Yeah.
And
Good. Thank you, Julie, because you have been the lone ranger on that one. Yeah, and that I was pleased with the notes I saw coming out of that. Thank you.
I'll add real quick to the parent involvement. Like I used to kind of head this up, and Julie, if you want to have some meetings, let me know. I will be there. But I don't really have the time available for it. So the school is still looking for some parents to help kind of head up and lead the parent involvement group, kind of encourage parent involvement, plan some activities. That is the ideal behind having this, and there is certain grant money allocated just for that. So there's funding available for the parents to run some events at the school, like we used to do, like the fall carnival, and we had an art show last year, which was so much fun working on with the kids. But there's funding available if there's any parents in the room or out there listening that are interested in kind of heading that up. Okay, so is that it, Julie?
oh, yep, that's it.
Okay, 3.9, Butte Falls Community School Partnership, Mr. Murphy.
One of the major changes that have taken place is when the preschool is in session in that great room, it's a big room. No one can go in there unless you have I guess it's an FBI background clearance. If you don't have it, you can't go in there. Even being on the board for 16 years, I had to go get one of those. So,
Well, I'm really relieved to hear it because that means you passed it, Dan, so I feel better about it.
but you have to go through the paperwork, then you go down to two places in the valley, and then they give you a electronic fingerprint.
Oh, that's so true.
But you bring your kids in, you let them in, you leave, and no matter who you are, you can't go back into that great room where those kids are. Even if you're going into the other office, you can't do it.
How new is
without
it?
one.
Is this pretty new, or?
Oh, yeah, started in January.
Cause I'm asking because I work for the library too, and I go over there and do a story time.
They may
Once a week.
allow certain things, but
Okay.
a regular person,
Okay,
even like Dr. Long, knowing him, he still couldn't go in there. Or you,
What's this? Where did it come from?
state,
But it's not, it's for the preschool?
it deals with the preschool, that when it's in session, you've got the kids there, you can't go into that great big room in the landing.
I thought the landing was independent from state.
Well,
I think that's new also. Because they needed grants.
Yeah.
From the state to
Okay.
keep running, and so now they're having to.
All the compliance of the regular, same as the school.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things the school, I think, was forced to do that we didn't want to do, but the landing had the freedom before, but it sounds like maybe some of that freedoms.
And I feel like
For the
they
early
started
learning.
that this year.
Yeah.
For the grants and stuff.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'm gonna ask about that just because for my other job, that's kind of important. So I'll ask a couple questions.
That'd be a nice heads up.
You still have a good enrollment over there in the preschool?
I don't mind doing it, but it is an interesting.
It annoys me because I've had 3 or 4 background checks, but there's one more.
Well, I probably have about 4 floating around in town with various jobs I do, so I don't mind doing.
For backgrounds or?
Yeah, for background, like with the school, the church, yeah, the town.
You had a question, Bonnie?
How's the preschool enrollment? Still strong?
Excuse me?
The enrollment on the preschool, is it still strong? We still have quite a few kids?
We could use more.
Yeah.
Always. It's a cute little group though, and I get to go over and do story time with them once a week. And what was it? I was there Thursday. What was with the rainbows? They did rainbow spaghetti because was it like a rainbow day?
It was National Spaghetti Day.
Oh, National Spaghetti Day. So they did rainbow noodles and man, there were some colorful noodles floating around that preschool. It was adorable.
I will say my son came out, they were in the classroom. The noodles were ready. They set them on the table. They come out of the classroom and they're all looking at it. And my son says, is this Play-Doh or is this spaghetti? And they all had a wager if the kids were actually gonna eat it. And Carolyn, the lady who preps the food for them, says, I bet you Levi will. And he was the first one to eat it up.
After it was died?
Yes. So it was fun. He was
cute.
pretty excited about it when he got home.
That's cute. Dan, do you have anything else for the landing?
That's the major change.
Okay. 3.9, do we have any public comment?
And no one through the email.
Nope, and no one is here, so 4.0, I see no old business. 5.0, I see no new business.
No, but I could do it here, I could do it at the end. There was a legislators reception RSVP. There's a meeting on Monday, January 15th at Phoenix High. They held this a year ago too. And our local legislators are gonna be there. It's a reception forum. They're inviting board members and school district representatives, so superintendents and such to come. And it's an opportunity to hear from the representatives, talk about what they're working on, but also the last year we were all able to say something. So I bragged on our school at that time. There's a dinner before that. Dinner's from 5:30 to 6. They have a menu. I don't know if I don't know if you have a copy of this in here.
I don't know if, the one I keep seeing is one where we're supposed to do hotel reservations.
Okay, no.
Are you able to forward that to any board members if they are? interested?
Absolutely. I thought it went to you all because it was from Sarah Crawford to Don, and then it was like a BCC, but it may have just come to, and Julie was BCC'd on it, so she probably does.
I don't know if I saw that one. The one I saw was like, make your hotel reservations.
Yeah.
So,
So there's a dinner from 5:30 to 6. It's good stuff. And then from 6 to 7:30 are the presentations and opportunity to meet if there's anyone you feel you need to talk to or schmooze, or you just want to get to meet. I know Representative McIntyre will be there.
I just got that yesterday.
Did you? Wow.
can you forward it to us? Cause Julie, I don't think I've seen it.
No,
Okay.
no, because I just said we'll bring it up at the meeting. So
Okay.
My
Can you
apologies.
forward it to anyone if they're
But if you
interested?
wanna go, yes, I'll forward it.
Okay.
You need to
But I want you to look at the menu.
Yeah, I couldn't pronounce it.
There's no main dish.
Oh,
You have soup, salad.
greens. Yeah, bread and butter.
Bread and butter.
Beverage.
Yeah.
That seems to be the
Bring
way it's
your own
going,
steak.
because Road Community Health is doing their luncheons the same way nowadays, so.
They don't want people to go to sleep by eating the main course. That's what.
I will forward that right now and let me know and I can,
Okay.
all right.
So you don't have to make a decision if you're gonna do something, but as individual board members, you're invited.
That's on the 15th.
It's on the 15th here. I'll leave. Give the information out there. She's on the board.
Mark, you would be excellent to go and represent us, like really you would.
Not that you have 100 other things going on or anything.
Let's see.
Okay, 6.0 is personnel, and so it looks like we have an action item to 6.1, hire middle school basketball coach and middle school girls assistant basketball coach.
Yeah, we're still having some pretty interesting characters applying for the positions. But tonight, under the first one, the girls' middle school basketball, we have head coach and 2 assistants. The head coach, ask you all to just, confirm or affirm these hires. Billy Myers is the coach. The assistant coaches, we have 2. One's Bonnie Freeman and the other is Kirsten White. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I actually think this would be a real test if you recused yourself from this vote to see if we could still pass it.
Actually, they might have to, right?
Well, here's
I was
the,
actually
here's,
wondering about that.
here's the deal. Here's the deal, because their board members are actually foregoing the stipend, so there's no money associated.
Well, I know they're not getting paid for it.
We are voluntarily, so we're saving us school money, you
But-
guys better vote us.
But for liability reasons, we do need to hire them, even if that's the case, because that allows them to be protected under our insurance.
Well, I say we attempt to do it without them voting because then they are actually voting for themselves. So I make a motion to approve, it's Billy, right?
Billy is the head
Billy as the head coach, Billy Myers, and then Bonnie Freeman and Kirsten White as the assistant coaches for girls basketball.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It was a unanimous 3-0, wasn't it?
We are in.
And then the other item on here is to hire a middle school wrestling coach. And the applicant, the successful applicant who's already started is Ted Birdseye. So need a motion in a second. I vote on that.
I will move to hire Ted Birdseye as our middle school wrestling coach.
And I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yahoo! Looks like another seat planning.
So 7.0, we have comments, future agenda items from the board.
Well, I had one other question on
That's
the
okay.
personnel.
Sure.
Is there anyone else we're trying to hire? I didn't see
Just in general.
yeah, just in general.
Bus drivers.
Oh, bus drivers.
Bus drivers?
That's the
Were you
biggest one.
volunteering to be a bus driver? It just.
No, I'm surprised. I've been recruiting.
Julie, were we trying to get EA subs? Do we?
Say
do we have
again?
that on? Educational assistant subs.
Classified
Yes,
stuff.
we're always advertising. In fact, I have an application that we need to get a move on, but yes, we're looking for any classified subs and bus drivers. And that's it right now.
Normally, I don't know if it is this month, but normally Dr. Long has that in his,
Yeah, I feel like if I put it every month that people don't read it anymore, so I took it out so I could put it back.
it's not in this
There you
month.
go.
Yeah,
Okay, but normally you have it in.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure on bus drivers, I almost got Ted Birdseye convinced to
Drive his own team.
be a bus driver because he follows the bus to every single game.
Might as well
No
be
matter
candidate.
where we go, so,
That's how Carrie got.
yeah. I'm trying to recruit.
Any other comments, future agenda items?
I have a couple.
Okay, go for it.
Super quick on the IEPs. I was under the understanding that those IEP students were supposed to be getting, a certain amount of time per week with like one-on-one time or like small group time. Is that still happening or have we?
So it depends, each IEP is different, and the
Correct.
service minutes will be different for the student.
Okay.
So you have to look at how many service minutes, depending on what their eligibility and what it is.
Okay, and that's something they test on or?
No, it's on their IEP,
Okay.
they determine that, so if it's a specialist, they'll
Right.
determine that.
Okay,
Usually, they'll
Okay.
get speech or OT or something,
Right.
they'll say, all right, the student needs 240 minutes for the year or something like that, and then we break it up throughout the
Gotcha.
time.
okay,
Yes, we're pulling, but no, we're not.
okay,
Yes and no,
Okay.
because I changed up the way we're doing things this year because it was all pull out last year.
right,
But we have such high sped numbers, it doesn't make sense to pull all the students out, and it's better to keep students in class as much as possible.
Right.
So yes, they're still getting services, it just might be more in the classroom, and then as they need, some of them need more one-on-one support, and then those specific students will be pulled out for one-on-one, 1 day, 2 days, whatever their minute, time frame with their special education, their managers and sped teachers, or they'll push in with them. So sometimes they're in the classroom with the students, sometimes they pull them out.
Okay.
So it's a mix.
Just a suggestion.
Mhm.
Because there was a teacher that was not aware of a student that had an IEP. So if that student is on an IEP and needs that extra help in class, since they're not being pooled.
So it's in the system and it's on the teacher to look at their students in the system and it says, and all the information.
There's just no
there.
communication with, because I know
No, there's
Mrs. DeCarlo is working
manager.
on that.
So depending on, so there's two sped teachers, so they have a breakup of grade levels.
Mhm.
So sometimes when we get new students, we don't know because they don't tell us,
Right,
or it takes months to get their paperwork.
Right.
And so sometimes that's
this was a
gap.
student that's been in the system for a while though.
So it's in our SIS, our student information system, and every teacher.
So
has-
it's up to the teacher to look at those.
Well, yeah,
students.
and it's not, yes, but
They're like not red flag, like, hey,
when they pull up the student information, there are flags like 504, IEP,
Okay.
custody, any issue or any
Right.
stuff that's going on at the top of our
It
system,
says
it'll
it on
tell
there.
it.
okay,
That
I just
being-
wanted to
that
be
being
aware.
said, it'd be really helpful if after this meeting, you could share with her the details.
Yeah,
'cause
talk
I
to
would
me.
Make sure that.
I would, because I want to make sure, yes, the sped teacher
Okay.
should still be working with, and they should still be talking with their teachers regardless of that.
Right.
So if there's a miscommunication or something, yeah, I know.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Another one. I've been thinking about. Or more or less wondering, do we have funds or can we somehow get funds for making logger gear? That we can sell at games or even put them on our website so that parents can purchase that and it's also money coming in. We have that school pride walking around town, going into Eagle Point, you know, whatever the case may be. I mean, I know that I would purchase some, so, just an idea. I don't know if there's funds for it or if we can find a way to,
Here's what you have on that, you need startup funds,
Mhm.
because you're making profit on that for programs and things like that.
right,
So it's about the seed money.
okay,
I would have to look at the student body accounts to see if we have something in student body accounts that's residual that we could use. That would be one way to get that started, and then you borrow this, you pay it back and all
Right.
that. And
well, I
so
would be happy to help with that if.
that would
if
be
you do.
terrific.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we're at the point where we need a couple people working, and the other part of that is, it's a challenge because people want to go out and do things, then it's kind of like we need to protect our brand.
Yeah,
So we need a process where our athletic department is involved in that, because that's part of what that's about.
Right.
But there are other things that kids want that aren't just athletic, that they
Right.
want to be false piece. So if you'd like to get together, maybe we can figure out some people who'd like to just get that
yeah, I would
started.
love that.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
cool. That's
We've
cool.
been kind of talking about that.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah, I think
agree.
that would be
think
great.
that's a Great idea.
And then, I know I've talked to Mr. DeCarlo about concessions during home games. Did you? And I wanna say, and I could be mistaken, that the ninth grade class was in charge of concessions. Okay, are we planning or do you
Yes.
know if we're
Yes, we are.
planning?
I've already talked with the ninth grade
Sweet.
advisor. There were some hard things that happened in November, December.
Okay,
But I communicated, look, this is a community event. If you all can't deliver the concessions, then we're gonna give it to another class.
Yeah.
Because this is our opportunity, and now that we have a bottle filler, it's even better. No,
right,
No, but it is, it's
Yeah.
part of community building. So
Okay.
I've been told that we will have concessions at every home game for this girls' middle school basketball season.
awesome.
Yeah.
One last question. Does the high school gym have a sound system?
Yes, and no, there is a system that goes like an announcer type system. It's really hard to hear in there because of the acoustics. There's so many hard walls and things like that.
Right.
So we can play music and stuff, but to get up and stand and say something when you have fans in there, they don't really hear very well.
Right.
And it's more about, do we figure out, have someone come in who could actually do the sound stuff and figure out all the nodal lights and all that and make it work.
So you
Yeah.
can play music on it though?
Oh, yeah, actually, well, you can play music on it or you can play music on a speaker.
Sorry, I just got really excited. We have a
Our
really, we have a
basketball
really cool
girls had a
thing.
pretty cool walkout.
Yeah.
so,
That helps.
So what I would say is consult with the athletic director.
Okay.
Because I know the PE teacher in there uses it for music, so the athletic director would know that.
Okay, yeah, cause like, the last home game, the eighth grade. Like when we introduce the eighth graders that are moving on, it would be really awesome if we could have a microphone so that everyone can hear, cause when you're in the
Mhm.
stands and the coaches are on the ground, you really can't hear them.
Right.
So, and I think it would. Just help.
Well, and so, okay, we can talk about, there are some things to do to get people prepped to the point where when you need them quiet, they can get quiet.
Oh, no, they're quiet, you just.
Yeah.
Can't hear.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Bonnie, did you still have some?
No, I'm good.
So I want to add real quick on what Kirsten was just saying. I actually think definitely talk to Dr. Long, definitely talk to the athletics director, but also get with Julie because like the stuff you're talking about is like apparel. And yes, they want it kind of branded, but then like concessions last year. The parent involvement group, which was basically me last year, because we had nothing else going, did donate like money to like get them started up with concessions, correct, Julie?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I was allowed to do that with some of my money left over that I had earned in carnivals. And then as long as parents are involved, so I was going over and helping with the concessions, and so. Parent involvement, it's kind of a wide spectrum of things, like as long as, if there's things that parents are interested in, like getting school apparel going, getting the concessions going. As long as it is parents involved and coming into the school and getting involved in these activities, we have funding available
Okay.
for that, so just
We're fair.
putting that out there.
I think she's actually like throwing daggers at us. like,
I felt
sign up for this.
I felt them.
But I mean, if you're
No,
already
she's
interested,
tossing a baton.
if you're already interested, and if there's other parents, like, okay, we have this funding.
Yeah.
If we help them fund some of the concessions, can we get some of the ninth grade parents to like kind of, okay, we're gonna rotate times and help with the home games, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And actually,
You're out with the concession.
our ninth grade advisor. It is usually, they're gonna be the ones, whatever the classroom advisor is, they're usually gonna be the ones that are contacting parents and like, hey, let's take turns rotating and helping out at concessions. So it would be a team effort. It wouldn't just be like
One
Kirsten or Bonnie, like
Right.
who's taking turns on concessions, which that was kind of me last year.
So what I would tell you is next fall, if we stay on schedule, we should have a high school volleyball team.
Yeah.
And at that point, that's when you can uncord the types of things like, we're all gonna wear green today, or, you know, the color games or things like that, and sell things that go along with that.
Mhm.
So really, that doesn't happen in the fall. The planning for that occurs now and in the
Right.
spring and building the system. So you're talking about things that will help us build back community
Yeah.
here. It's cool.
And there's funding available. That's my
Heavily-
main point. There's funding
Well,
available.
We have student
So-
involved or student assemblies who can give out shirts and stuff too.
Right, yeah.
Okay, well, since we're back on the split thing, hey. At one of our games, one of the refs, cause I always go up and talk to the refs, and one of the refs was like, where is your crowd? He's like, I'm glad you guys got a team, but he's like, for years, I remember, you know, and he's been reffing up here for a lot of years, and he said, there wasn't an empty seat in these stands, and I told him, we're bringing it back, so we're working on bringing it back. I think it'll be good again. That's all.
Anything else from anyone? Okay, so 8.0 is adjournment.
7:30, I got it.
At,
Look what you have. Do it.
Angie, thank
7:30.
you.
Okay, adjourn.